Hello, everyone out there on the World Wide Web. This broadcast is being shot at Dundas Valley Golf and Country Club. As we see, Team Smith is just throwing their last stone draw for hammer. It looked a little heavy, and I believe it went through the house, so we'll just have to wait and see who gets hammer. Today, Saturday, November 14th, this is our first women's draw of the day. Start time at about 11:45, so we're in and around where we're looking to start out today. Team lineup today, we have Team Beauchamp throwing Blue Rocks, Skip named Acadia, the Vice Kylie, second Megan, and the lead Paige. Throwing Yellow Rocks is Team Smith, with the Skip Amanda, the Vice Haley, the second Megan, and the lead Krista. And it's just me right now in the broadcast. Sam is out there just making sure that everything gets started according to plan, and he'll be back to join us shortly. So I think an interesting thing when this game starts off, I think it'll be interesting to see how this end starts. The first end of the first draw, we've seen very aggressive play. But then ever since then, it seems like more teams have been starting slower. Maybe because there's been such an increase of big ends being scored that these teams, they don't need to sell the farm in the first end. But it'll be interesting to see what Team Beauchamp, where they put this first rock. Megan there sweeping it, and I believe Acadia was looking for a zone 2, zone 3 guard. And it looks like they're going to start it out a little on the aggressive side. It'll be interesting to see what Team Smith does here. And as I say that, Sam joins us. Sam, how's it going today?
Good. So, interesting enough, we do a last stone draw to see who gets hammer, and both teams ended up getting a max, so they had to do a rock, paper, scissors to see who got hammer, and Team Smith already getting a victory by starting with hammer here. They chose rock.
Yes, always choose rock. Whoever's listening out there, if you want to be an international world champion at rock, paper, scissors, choose rock.
Choose rock.
It is the choice.
When in doubt, choose rock.
Because you know they're always going to choose scissors to counter your paper. But anyways. So,
back to the curling game.
Yeah. So it looks like we saw a little bit of an unforced error there by Team Smith. It's just adjusting to the ice in the first end. There seems to be a little bit more of variety in shot calls, and it's still just the ladies are just getting used to the ice. So I think Team Beauchamp put the broom down, looking for a draw behind that guard, thrown by lead Paige McMullen. And it looks like Kylie is just guiding it in there. Look at it ever warp. It's really curling there.
Yep.
It's good to see that we're getting movement on that side. it looks like Amanda was calling for a come around there, and I think, and the weight looks close. I think, I think where this rock ends up is a great piece of learning for Amanda, because it's been a consistent pattern that we've seen on this sheet, that if you throw maybe that little bit positive release, that little bit extra weight, especially on that sheet 3 side, it tends to carry just a little bit more, and it's a smidge straighter. But we're talking about maybe a foot at most in terms of curl difference.
Yeah, and you'll see the two teams adjust to that after, like we've seen in the previous 5 draws.
Yeah.
It takes about 2 or 3 ends.
Which is an interesting thing when you think about it, because one of my past coaches has always said that third end, when you get to that third end first rock, that's when you're going to notice the first ice change, usually in speed or curl. But
a great weight on this shot.
Yeah, a great shot by Megan there. I think, as we say though, it's just the next end or two is just going to be adjusting. I just wanted to say, shout out to Team Smith. They're the first team that I've seen color coordinate their masks with the rocks they're throwing. I love to see the smiles, and I love the color coordination.
Whoever organized that,
yeah,
just kind of knew.
Shout out to the parents. You guys are great in more ways than you know.
So the trend is continuing on this side with any kind of hit weight.
Yeah.
It runs a little bit straighter. And we've said in previous broadcasts and previous draws that it's really important that this ice is very release sensitive.
Yes.
So you definitely want to have a very clean release, and hitting the broom is very important.
Yeah, and I think Sam and I both had a conversation with the ice maker, Rob Matheson, here, and I think a key thing that he likes in his ice is that you reward those consistent, crisp releases, and the ice is structured that way. So it benefits those teams that maybe have a little bit more experience and have focused on like the technique of delivering a rock as well as releasing one.
Yeah, so Megan is going to try and protect their rock in the top 4 foot here, and looks like by the sweepers this is a little hotter than we wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a plan B here. I think they want to bring it to it. It might be a little heavy.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good outcome for, you know, it wasn't the shot they wanted, but they reacted to what they were going to get.
Yeah.
And they got that spacing that they needed, so there's not an easy double.
Yeah, and considering where that blue rock is now, if we were playing Ford hot shots, I think they would have won the car. So that's always good to keep in mind too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Junior Slam Series doesn't have a car in the budget, but we'll work on that.
We're not going to share once we get a car. The commentators are going to get the car.
Oh, God, Sam. Okay, I believe this is Megan. Megan's second. No? No, not Megan's second. It's Haley's first stone.
It is Megan. You're right.
And look at that.
I said it.
He said it
2
again.
2-1. 2-1.
No.
2-1.
2-0.
No,
Ryan is
you said
right.
I was right last time.
Oh.
And a little slight overcurl by Megan there, but it does get the job done by eliminating one of the stones.
Yeah, and I think especially when you're playing these earlier ends, it's great to come out crisp, but and ready to play, but it's kind of one of those things that it might take an end or two to kind of get into it. Shout out to both Team Beauchamp and Team Smith. They're very consistent with their name choice. We have at second position for Team Beauchamp, we have Megan. And then at second position for Team Smith, we also have Megan. So you'd think that would mean that Sam and I will accurately predict their names, but little did you know it's going to be a little bit more difficult than that. But we'll try our best.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the first time we've had to deal with that.
I know, the double name game.
Yeah, you usually see it with Sam's and Carly's and Paige's. There's a lot of Paige's and Haley's.
Shout out to Paige and Haley. There's lots of you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, so Haley's goal here is to make the hit and roll under.
Do you think they can get the double if they...
I think they want to keep it. They probably should have kept sweeping a little bit, just try to make it, but it did roll out, so it didn't quite jam.
And I think
So-
the other thing I like about that rock position for Team Smith is right now you can't see Team Beauchamp hit and roll under those clusters of guards because it's going to jam on that back one.
Yeah, so for Team Beauchamp, you're going to see Kylie want to just hit it right on the nose.
Yeah.
You could probably get away with about a half a rock of a roll towards the center line if you wanted to. But I think nose is great.
Yeah, I agree.
So this one ran a little straighter than they wanted to.
Remove their back one.
Remove their back stone. So like we said earlier before, that side tends to be a little straighter, but it is very much release sensitive. So I think both of these teams will learn that coming through the next few ends.
Yeah, and Sam, just to kind of like provide some context for this game, this is actually a pretty big game in this 4-game round robin for these two teams. Team Beauchamp and Team Smith, both are sitting at 1 win and 1 loss. So I think the result of this game could impact who we see in the championship pool, and I have a feeling that both of the teams here understand that. So I think it's really important to kind of place that importance on the game, that this could determine a team that we see or don't see in the championship pool.
And that was a great shot by Haley. It is biting top 12 foot. It's guarding the rock that is in the top 4, and Team Beauchamp's going to have to either make a really nice draw in the first end or a nice run back.
Yeah, and
I think they're deciding on the draw through the hole.
Yeah, I think
where the broom placement is. That's what I was.
Yeah, I see the draw, Sam, and it's an interesting tactic by Team Beauchamp. If you think about where they threw that first rock, they were looking for the guard. So they're looking for that little bit of aggressive, maybe bring it to you kind of play. And if you make the shot, it's great.
Yeah.
And I think it's early enough that it's not too much risk.
Yeah. And I think it just shows how confident Acadia is. But the front end is talking to her about maybe playing the run back.
Yeah, or the hit.
Yeah, it is the first end, and I think, like we said before, you can't lose the game in the first 4 ends, but you can't win the game in the first 4 ends, but you can't lose. You can lose.
Yes.
I murdered that statement.
That's okay. Fine. You're trying your best. That's all I care for.
I like that. I'm not 100% sure what she's throwing here.
I think she's throwing the draw, and and I think it's really good in the sense that she's throwing it. She seemed comfortable throwing it, and at the end of the day, if they were to change the shot, I think we would have seen her come down, move the broom, so that she's like kind of resetting the shot. And I think
weight is really close. They're really trying to make it move.
And it's moving a bit. It just
I think just needed about 5 feet more weight and a little bit less ice there.
Yeah, I think they're throwing from that straighter side first. Yeah.
And we've seen that side move quite a bit when you get that accurate weight. You just need to find out where you're putting the broom. For Team Smith, it's kind of interesting now.
Yeah.
You can be a little more aggressive and draw that wide side and sit 3 behind those 2 corners. Or you can kind of choke off Team Beauchamp's draw by putting up a nice high guard here.
Yeah. I think if I'm Team Smith, I don't mind where Amanda's tapping the broom right now, kind of biting that top 12-foot area to also potentially have a counter, but also block off that draw. I don't mind that shot, and I think the shot tolerance there is light, because if you come to the tee line, you're going to give the opportunity to Team Beauchamp to hit and roll under everything that's out front and maybe change the outcome of the end. So I think if this shot is executed by Team Smith, it'll be really interesting to see what Team Beauchamp and what Acadia decide to do. They're going really hard on this to try to get by. They seem to find some curl there. Maybe a chip off. So Team Beauchamp is in a really, they're in a pickle right now. I think they have to decide if they want to kind of just go for it and take that wide out turn draw to get shot stone, or if they're going to consider maybe playing it a bit more defensively, try to get rid of one or two of those yellow stones and kind of take their medicine to see what happens. So if, considering the shot call Team Beauchamp played on their first, I wouldn't be surprised if you see the draw. As I say that though, it looks like they're playing the hit, and I think the hit is the safer call, considering that you kind of want to try to limit those, you want to limit those yellow counters, because yellow does have hammer. So it's just important to make sure that you don't give too much to the yellow team. You don't want to give them too much of a start. So Lion looks good out of her hand. We'll just have to see if it curls. Yeah, it needs to come up a little. It's moving now. Overall, a pretty good result for Team Beauchamp there. They did leave that blue rock exposed on the sheet one side, as we see Amanda kind of line up where she would like the broom to remove that rock, try to stick around for 3 points. So. And I like the ice choice for this stone, and because we know how much it moves here, so I think it's a good placement for the broom, and I think it'll just be interesting to see what kind of weight they throw here, because I think they have the broom in the right spot for a heavy board control-ish weight hit, but it's just important to make sure that she has the ice in the right spot, just that weight needs to match where the broom is.
I think this is a very heads up, because like maybe she has been watching live streams and she's seen that this side curls. And I like where the broom is, depending on what weight she decides to throw.
Yeah. Line looks really close on this.
Big sweep here.
This would be a great way to start the game for Team Smith.
That's a great shot.
And it really is. And
Amanda should be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you said in the first end, yellow, I took 3 points,
yeah,
I think anyone would be happy with that result. But at the end of the day, just like we've seen in a lot of curling games so far, just because they took 3 doesn't mean the other team can't take 4.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. We've seen a lot of big scores here, and I think we'll continue to see that.
No, I think so too. I think we'll see a lot. There's a lot more points to be had and a lot more ends to be played.
And for Team Beauchamp, you don't want to just go all in the second end.
Yes.
That's the number one thing that I think you learn in this level of curling, this young U18 level, is that if you go all in early, it's just going to bite you. So I think I like that they're probably going to throw the corner, but just don't be too invested into this end. It's going to be a long game. You have 7 more ends of curling.
No, exactly, Sam. And I think Team Smith called top 4, which I like that call, especially when you're leading by more than 2. It'll be, yeah. It's a good call, and I think you're going to see Team Beauchamp try to bring the play to the wings with maybe either a hit and roll or a corner guard. So we'll just
And
wait and
a
see.
great shot by Krista.
Yeah.
Nicole. That's not.
Pardon us, not Krista, Nicole. So, and
we get the names from our software guy, Mr. Stephen Orr.
yeah, so he's not here, so we'll just throw him under the bus.
We'll throw him under the bus. It's just
That's
easier
totally
for us to do.
fine. Yeah. So honestly, Sam, I don't mind that shot. I like that Beauchamp wasn't too keen of the position of that Yellowstone that Nicole placed in a really nice location. Yeah. And they said, let's bring the play to the wings. And they hit it and they stuck around in the side. So I wonder now if Team Smith, if they nose it, I wonder if we'll see that delayed corner.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Beauchamp will throw the corner guard knowing that the play's to the wings now.
It'll be one of the first times we see that this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think Team Smith is finding out how straight with a little bit more weight
that side of the ice
is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to say it. This ice is very release sensitive, and that's the biggest thing you're going to learn. And that's all about this weekend is learning, especially the first event of the season. And we don't know how much curling we're going to get this year.
Yes.
So it's great that we're here right now. It's great that we get to learn as much as possible.
So Sam, just a quick question. So I see Team Beauchamp signaled to split the house to the other side. Do you like that call? Is there any other call that you see, or what would you do in this situation?
I think it depends of how much you feel as a team. If you feel like you have the advantage of keeping a clean game and you think you're going to out-hit the other team, I love drawing to the wings.
To split the house.
Yeah. If you want to get a little more aggressive, you can definitely throw the guard over the rock that's in play. So with this rock kind of undercurling on them, they really want to try and get those two stones as even as possible.
Yes.
So for Team Smith, even if they don't make the double, hitting and rolling over to that blue shot is a great shot. So I think that's what they're going to attempt.
Yeah, and I think one thing young skips out there need to pay attention to is to see the angle of where that blue rock is and then where you can hit it. You want to make sure that you hit it in a location where it doesn't jam on that yellow rock that's in play but out of the rings. And I think making sure that you understand where you can hit it is really important. So I think that was just a case of that straight path, and I don't know if that was the weight that was being called. It could have been a titch on the strong side, but like we say, it's early on, and if you look at and you look at how the end's building up for Team Beauchamp, we're set up for about another multiple point score right now, and early on in the game there is that element of back and forth. It looks like we have a little bit of a technical timeout here, so we will see when play resumes. This is a great opportunity to look around the sheets. So on sheet 1 we have a early deuce by Team Madden in the first end. Team Madden is leading 2-0 without Hammer playing the second against Team Madaw. And on sheet 4, McDonald took 2 in the first end with Hammer, leading Team Akers 2-0. Akers has Hammer in the second, and then we saw a blank end between Team Ramsey and Team Solari. And now, it's almost like we predicted it, Sam. We should have a genie in the bottle or something And it just seems like sometimes things we say come to fruition.
We do not get the curling masters for a reason, right? Like we are called that for a reason.
Yes. I know, it's scary. It's really scary to think about it that way.
For Team Smith, they've struggled with this path a little bit, so your goal is to just a nice clean release, make sure at least one of these blues go away, and try to make the double, and this looks awfully close. Oh, just too thin. And if that curls another 2 centimeters, the double's made. So that was a very good attempt.
Yeah, I think what we've seen there in that spot specifically is how important weight control is on those hits. I like the releases both teams are throwing right now. The fundamentals are there for both Team Beauchamp and Team Smith. I think it's just, like we've said before, who can adjust to both sides of the ice first. And I think right now, yes, Team Beauchamp is sitting 3, drawing to sit 4, but if you look at where these rocks are positioned and seem to be ending up, you have 2 sets of blue rocks grouped together. And that was a great guard thrown by Megan. That rock is fully buried, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Amanda call for a hit and roll, potentially a double, but I think she's just adjusting her mask. We know those struggles for us visually not as strong folks, as I am one of those. You know that struggle of wearing that mask, and it does make a difference with your glasses. It's easier to get them fogged up, and so it's good to see that they're making that adjustment now, so that it doesn't impact them later.
Absolutely. I think it's important to adjust that way, because even a year from now, when the world is getting closer to the new normal that we'll be living in, I still think we might be playing with masks for curling. So
Yes.
it might as well be something that we get used to, even for our glasses wearers.
Glasses wearers. We love English here. The curling masters are both English majors, if you haven't figured it out yet.
So I like the aggressive call from Team Smith to play the freeze there.
Yeah.
And a good weight. It did not curl as much as they expected.
Sam, what do you think about the handle Team Beauchamp's calling right now?
I think I would have came the other way, solely
yes.
because there's less chance of jamming.
Uh-huh.
And they might just know this path a little more. And
Very
maybe
true.
for Kylie, she likes this turn better. And her skip knows that. So it's whatever your team's comfortable with. And it just looks like this is over curling a bit on them.
Yeah.
Just rolls out.
It rolls out, but Sam, you hate to remove your own rock, but I don't mind that, given where that yellow rock is positioned. If Team Beauchamp prefers that handle, by what they just did, they've now opened up that handle to be used again. So
And another aggressive call from Team Smith, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like it's when you're up 3, you think you would hit the open one and kind of concede your deuce, but they're saying, you know what, we know guard weight. We're gonna put the broom in the right spot. We're gonna guard this stone that's in a really good spot, top 4 foot.
Yeah.
And this is a great shot, and it looks like the sweepers are trying for it to pray that it stops. But if they bring it right to the face, that does the job. And it looks like you're sitting 1-3.
Yes.
So that's important too.
No, exactly. And again, it's just about applying that extra pressure to Team Beauchamp. And as we see, they're going to throw that handle that they seem more comfortable with. And it's really important to see who's applying pressure where, and that's where that shot thrown, I believe it was by Haley, that shot thrown by Haley just puts that little bit extra pressure on Team Beauchamp.
And now you're going to see Kylie try to make this double, and maybe just a slight overcorrection.
Yes, I think that's exactly what happens.
And that happens to every curler in every level.
It happens to every human on the face of the planet. So, and I think right now, if I'm Team Smith, I like the guard. We are up 3 points. We're sitting first and third. Cap it and really force Team Beauchamp to make a difficult draw or maybe a difficult hit. I think that's best case scenario. And Team Smith should have an idea about what the speed's doing here. As that last, Haley's last rock that we now see in the top 12 foot, I'm sure there's communication between Megan and Nicole to Amanda about what was that split time or how did that feel underfoot, and they're going to make the adjustment here and get that zone 2, zone 3 guard.
Absolutely. And then we say there's a lot of important shots every end, and this is another one that to make this guard in a really good spot really puts pressure on Team Beauchamp to make a good one.
I completely agree. And again, it just goes back to applying the most pressure when you have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
And to settle the Twitter debate of can you wear glasses and curl, it looks like that tape is working. Her glasses aren't getting nearly as foggy as that first end.
Yeah. So Twitterverse, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
But yeah, no, I think it's and it's making those adjustments, and I think the fact that they were able to make that adjustment in the first end purely based on their mask, it speaks to the curling community and our nature to forever evolve. When we started this tournament, there was not one complaint from an athlete or a coach to wear a mask or try to follow COVID policies and whatnot. And this is just another example of that.
Oh.
I think we have a close one. Do you think it's Hogs?
If both teams come into an agreement, you kick it and you go on from there. They can also ask for a convener to come and look at it for a third party, because that is the rules.
Yep.
But it looked like both teams agreed that that wasn't over the hog line.
Yeah, and I think you and I can make the agreement, as I have glasses on, maybe you would be the one who would go out and look, just because I wouldn't want to impact the game negatively, Sam.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been blessed with 20/20 vision.
Good to know.
And my eye doctor said at least until I'm 40, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Have you been eating a lot of carrots, Sam?
Carrots is one of the vegetables that I do like to eat.
Okay. That's good. Vegetables are good for you.
Yeah.
I'm proud that you're keeping yourself healthy.
Back into the important curling shot that Acadia is another big shot here.
Yes.
Because you make this double, you're sitting 3 with Amanda only having 1 rock to throw.
Yeah.
So a big shot here.
No, and again, it speaks to making after a miss, and I think the ladies have made the adjustment. Yeah, all of a sudden.
Well, and we talked about this, and if they hold it, but you know what? That's a good miss.
If I'm yellow right now.
Lots of pressure.
Yes, because if you don't put that guard in the right spot, just like we predicted, there could be a 4 in play.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, what feels like out of nowhere, we have a 4-3 game on our hands.
Yeah.
So
we said we're going to see big scores, and we know we're going to see it. So I think, and I know that Amanda Smith is going to be close here because she just threw this.
Oh, 100%.
Right? She's going to add 5 more feet of weight, maybe 10 for this, help the sweeper out a little bit.
Yeah. Nicole's like 8 to 10 is good.
8 to 10 is great.
Yeah.
And they're going to put this in a good spot to put the pressure right back on Acadia Beauchamp.
Yeah. And I think if this guard is made perfectly, it'll raise an interesting question for Team Beauchamp. If it's a tight guard and you have that chance to make the run back, will that be the call, or will you just see the draw for a point?
And I think that'll definitely be a team decision when it comes to it. Risk reward, I think it might be worth throwing that run back.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable with that.
Especially considering you're in the second end.
Yeah.
You have time. You're down 3. If you're down 4, you still have 6 ends to make it out.
Yeah, you're not gonna love being down 4, but it's definitely worth risking it to get 3. So
This rock seems
Amanda
to
Smith
be,
wants this to curl.
yeah, it seems to be good for weight. It didn't snap like we saw Team Beauchamp's first hit
And
snap.
great adjustment on weight.
Yeah.
That's exactly where your guard wants to be. It just did not get the curl. So for Acadia Beauchamp, a big shot here.
Yeah, no. I feel like we might be in for a slugfest, Sam. I have this strong feeling that this is just going to be one of many exchanges on the scoreboard. So, and I'm excited for it. And I think I like the position of where the broom is for this shot. We know this side curls a little bit, so as long as Acadia comes out with that nice crisp release, and it's a decent weight, they should be close.
Yeah, big team shot here.
Yeah, huge momentum shot.
Yep. I like that she's asking for more ice.
Yes.
We haven't seen too much ice.
No, we got close.
We got close one time, so I like the weight. Looks like control up, and a big sweep here.
Yeah.
She's holding it so far.
Line is looking good. What a great
shot by
great
Acadia.
hold by Paige.
Yeah. Great team shot. And
No.
that'll be 4 for Team Beauchamp, and we got a 4-3 game on our hands.
Sam, these games are so aggressive. I feel like it's impossible to predict a scoreline.
No, I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be 2 aggressive teams just slugging it out.
No, exactly. And it shows. It speaks to their records of 1-1 each. This game means a lot to both of them. And just pulling ahead by beating a team that's close to you, you're also pushing them a step behind you. And I think this game could play a huge role in dictating if we see one or both of these teams in the championship round.
Absolutely. So that was a big shot by Acadia Beauchamp and team. And now we're going to see probably a top 4, maybe tight guard.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to keep into consideration for this is, so yes, Team Smith gave up 4 points, but I'm looking at their body language, and it seems like it doesn't faze them.
They seem like both teams seem like a very positive team, and I think they're happy that they're curling.
Yeah, and I think they both know that there are 6 more ends of good curling, and if you can score 7 points in 2 ends, you can score at least 7 more.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The scoreboard does only go to 16.
But so we're hoping that it stays between that range. If not, our electronic scoreboard.
I'm okay with a 14-13 final.
Is that
maybe
the
coaches might
prediction?
not want that, but
yeah, the coaches
okay
just gave us that kind of head shake where it's like, I don't want this roller coaster ride that I signed up for.
Yeah. So as we saw, that rock over curled on them. They wanted it to be top 4, but that just goes to show you that Rob Matheson said he likes his ice being really sensitive, and that might have been just a hair soft.
Yes.
But great weight and great sweeping to get it into the rings. And now you're seeing what looks like a hit. So that's a change from the first 2 ends.
It is, and I don't mind this call by Team Smith, because if you're looking at the scoreboard, you're saying, okay, we're playing an odd end. We did give up a few points there. Let's slow it down and bring it back to the basics, get back to even ends with hammer.
And that's a great shot.
Yeah,
in previous broadcasts, we've seen teams struggle with that side of the ice.
Yes, very
I like
true.
that they threw that control normal weight hit, and they hit and stuck. It's a trickier shot than what it seems to be when you're sitting at home.
Yeah, and the confidence that both these ladies have in the house to just, this is the strategy, we're playing at this end, maybe we'll make a variation depending on the scoreboard, but just the confidence of knowing this is plan A, this is plan B, this is what we're going to do, it's showing bright and clear right now.
And Team Beauchamp trying to keep the foot on the gas pedal, putting this guard when you're up 1.
Yeah, and I don't mind this call, especially considering there was a huge momentum shift for them in the second end.
Yep.
Try to generate a little bit more offense.
Absolutely.
And I think we're seeing a bit of an over curl here for the guard, but a guard here isn't bad.
I think they're trying to get it in now that they're not a center guard.
Okay.
just came up a little bit short.
But it's a close enough guard that if you need to move it, run it back in there or whatever, it's playable.
Absolutely. And for Team Smith, we are saying we don't want to be aggressive. We're going to put it in the rings, and we want you to hit us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make them make a shot out wide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is what that statement is.
So you're going to see Nicole try to draw this to the tee line in the wings, and we're going to see this move quite a bit here. And it looks like the sweepers are kind of hoping that this grabs the curl. And I think just a fresh path, and that glides a little farther than they expected. So for Team Beauchamp, it looks like they're discussing the run back or the hack weight hit. So it'll be interesting to see what they decided. It looks like they're trying to take that curly side, get around that guard, and play the hack weight hit. And I like the call, because if you do just nudge your blue corner guard into the center, your center guard's right back where you want it to be. So as long as the thrower kind of knows that tolerance, and Acadia is calling them on right away. Look at that big sweep here. I like the rotation, I like the weight, and they're going to make the peel. And that's a good tolerance when you're up one.
And that's what you like to see there, Sam, is that you're not getting your first call, but at the end of the day, you're able to make that adjustment and get the A2 shot, which is really good, because it's forcing Team Smith to throw that same draw, and it'll just be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and you're going to see Megan try to throw a little bit less weight than Nicole did. And Nicole's going to say, this path is fast. I wasn't ready for it to be this quick, so give it to us and we'll sweep it there. So it looks like the sweepers are on and off, which is usually a good sign.
Yeah, you always love to see that as a thrower, when your sweepers are kind of dancing around, sweeping it, cleaning it. It means it's close.
So Nicole is bringing it into the rings, even with the yellow stone, and that's a great adjustment by the team.
Yes, great team
good shot.
Yeah.
And for Team Beauchamp, you have to decide which rock do we want to hit. And I like, oh, they're going to take the words right out of me, and they're going to say, you know what? Let's play the freeze.
The best defense is offense. Yep. And we've seen, and the thing is, it's not just something that Team Beauchamp is doing. We've seen that in a couple of other teams.
Yeah, and you know what? They might have said before the game, let's be aggressive. Let's just go for it. And we talked about them throwing the center guard. They're trying to keep the gas on the pedal. The foot on the gas.
On the pedal.
The foot on the gas is technically the foot on the pedal. Anyways, this seems to be gliding a little bit quick. And
the weight seems close. It just seemed to not get that curl.
And it does sit for second shot, I'm going to say.
Are you sure?
I'm going to say they're second.
That was a very,
I'm convinced. I know I'm right.
Well, I know you're not humble, but
it doesn't matter, because Team
Smith
is going to hit this right on the nose, and you're going to see Megan throw. Probably looks like with the ice, probably a control weight hit.
I think we might see another punch back by Team Smith here. I think. Oh.
And it looks like maybe just one of those, like we talked about, just a little bit of a softer release, and they're gonna nose their yellow, so no harm, no foul. And for Team Beauchamp, I think you're going to see a hit now, and you are, because they are sitting at least second shot, and I like that the ice Acadia is giving. Both of these teams have been really sharp on that curl side, and maybe they have watched some of the live streams, and if not, their coaches got them prepared that this side is going to move. big sweep here by Megan. And it just over curls and clips their blue one. And Team Smith is now sitting 2.
Yeah, those hits on both sides seem to be fooling just a little bit both teams. So I think it's really going to come up to who makes the adjustment first. And I think we're seeing Team Smith. I think Amanda is tapping top 12, maybe a zone 3 guard in front of that, and now I think she's seeing the freeze, Sam, or the hit.
I personally, it's a team preference. I would probably throw the freeze.
Yes, I agree.
But I like the hit. It kind of gives it's the same outcome. If you make this hit, you're still going to be sitting 3. And all of your Yellowstones are not in easy doubles positions. So a big sweep here by Nicole
to get that rock out of there.
And as we continue to say every broadcast, there's some amazing sweeps, and that was a great sweep to hold that stone.
Yeah, that by removing that rock, it puts all the pressure on Team Beauchamp to execute right now, and I'm confident Team Beauchamp can, but it's just these women are just trading blow after blow after blow. It looks like we're seeing the freeze call,
and we're seeing a timeout.
And Team Beauchamp has trained their players to look. Yeah. And shout out to the coaching staff who do that, because we've had other coaches and they're saying timeout, please, timeout, and their athletes aren't looking. Obviously, we're earlier in the season, Sam, so those kinks are still being worked out right now.
Absolutely.
But it was really great to see.
Yeah.
Just an instant call, no hesitation.
And I think Beauchamp's coach is just going to tell Acadia and team that we need a hit here. We have a 1-point lead. Let's try to make a hit and roll in front of the yellow stone that is in the back 12 foot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're going to see their coach say. And for Team Smith, they're going to say this is what they're going to play. They're going to play the hit and roll.
Yeah.
So you need to be ready. Think about wherever this ends. Think about where you're going to put the broom and make a good hit and roll as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to see both teams kind of trade blows here. And for Team Smith, your goal is to score multiple. I think the blink is out of play.
Yes. I think it's too late in the end, unless
we see a really good double hit and roll out, and then all of a sudden it's back into play. You're going to want to just score multiple here if you're Team Smith.
Yeah, and I think, Sam, this goes back to something that you were talking about with a previous women's skip that has this sort of aggression-first mentality, is that you can only play with fire so many times until you get burnt. And I think if you make the freeze, you're in a great spot to force, maybe even steal. But if you don't make the freeze, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole.
Yeah. And how aggressive these two teams are, I really do think our prediction of 14-13 might really come into play by the 8th end.
Yeah, I think the coaches don't want that many points on the board, but at the end of the day, we're here for the ride. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of all this.
Yeah. And it looks like they decided to play the hit and roll.
Awesome.
So that's a great call, great team timeout. And for some other coaches listening, some coaches are sometimes worried about calling in such an early timeout because you do only get 2 of them.
Yep. And it's a huge hold here
sweep
by Megan.
Yeah.
Or pardon me, Paige.
Yeah. Oh, just over curls. I still think they had the right idea.
Yeah.
And you'll probably see a hit and roll on their next shot.
Yeah, and Sam, I think that situation in a nutshell, although the execution wasn't there, it doesn't mean the strategy was wrong.
Yeah.
It just means that there was something that happened where it impacted the outcome of the shot. But I liked that strategy call, and I think trying to limit the damage right now is a good thing for Team Beauchamp.
And as you to see Haley, as soon as she released it, she said it's heavy.
It's heavy.
And that's great communication. I know this is their third game of the weekend, but it's probably only their third game. It could be their third game as a team, but if not, their third game of the season.
Yeah, very true.
So that's great communication to see, and a great sweep by Megan. And all of a sudden, Smith is sitting 4. So for Acadia Beauchamp, I've been doing so good with her last name.
So well,
now.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like this call of the hit and roll here. I think with how that rock is positioned, you can actually hit and roll to be in front of that Yellowstone that's splitting the center line, and you might also get shot out of it. And I think that's the best call for Beauchamp right
Absolutely. I think the most important aspect is getting contact of that Yellowstone, making sure you eliminate at least one Yellowstone, and then focus on the roll. So I think that's what you're going to see Acadia do.
And it looks like we have a huge shot here coming from the skipper, Acadia.
Big sweep. It looks like they're going to get contact. And, just caught in between both shots. If it sits, and it just overrolls. Great attempt there. And again, later on in the season, they might have the heads up to let that curl that centimeter more to make that double.
Yeah, to just nut it right there. And I think that would have been the audible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, it's Smith's throw, and I feel like the best play for them is to throw it open side, but I think you want to put it in a position where you're not giving Team Beauchamp the same opportunity to make that hit and roll in front of something. And I think I wouldn't mind seeing that stone placed in the corner fullback 12, or just so it's out counting the other blue stone, so that roll isn't really there.
Yeah, if you can be really very precise, and we're nitpicking here, but if you can put this just biting the top of the bottom of the R in junior slams.
Yeah.
And yes, you do leave them a double, but they got to make it, and then you're still going to have an open hit or a draw for 3.
Yeah, exactly, Sam. I think right now, Team Smith can't lose sight that they came into this end thinking, let's get 2.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, as long as you're scoring multiples, that's what counts when you have hammer. So obviously 3, 4, as much as you can get, the better. But at the same time, 2 is fine.
Absolutely. So I like this call. I like where they're attempting to put this T-line, 8 foot. Make sure they're still sitting 4. You're gonna give Acadia Beauchamp the same shot.
Yes.
But she's got to make it.
I think they've transitioned to the hit on the wide blue.
She's seen this path, and maybe that's why she's decided to play this.
If she feels comfortable with this more than the draw, then I see this. That's totally fine.
I just think there's a little bit more risk playing this shot, because if your shooter does overcurl, you're gonna pick out one of your yellow.
Yeah, and Sam, I would have really liked to see that Amanda came back down to the house and put the broom and kind of just get that old shot out of her mind to reset to fully execute this one.
And that's another thing that you probably would see later on in the season when they've had that practice ice, they've had those team meetings and the talk about those shots. So not a ton of weight here, and it looks like it's going to be a big sweep by Nicole and try to hold this.
Yeah, it's almost like Nicole was sweeping before it was let go. Close.
And that's the risk that we saw with that shot.
Yeah, and I think, Sam, that's where the draw would have been a bit favorable. But at the end of the day, they're still sitting 2.
Yeah.
They still have that opportunity for the multiple score, which is what they were looking for when they started this end.
Absolutely, and that's what I was just about to say, is that Team Beauchamp is going to play the hit. Team Smith just now needs to focus on and making that open hit for 2, and that's exactly what they wanted when they started this end.
Yeah, and I think one thing you and I can both attest to is, as skips, sometimes it's better to have a bit of that goldfish memory. Kind of just threw the shot, it didn't go our way, but let's hunker down and make the next one.
And the aggression in Acadia Beauchamp.
It's palpable, man.
She's very confident in her draw weight.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I think that's actually the one thing that I actually didn't see. But if you look at where those 2 yellow rocks are positioned, if she can put it close,
take the whole end away.
Yeah, close into that little nook, maybe
right on the O and junior.
Yeah,
you got the force.
Yeah.
Right?
So hats off to her to see
aggressive, but I enjoy it.
No, hats off to her for seeing a shot that I didn't see. No, but to be quite honest, I didn't see it.
No longer the curling masters. We didn't see that shot.
Just like everyone else, the masters are always learning. So it looks close.
By the way they're sweeping it, now she is head down sweeping. I think they're sweeping for line.
To make sure they keep that.
The weight does look there.
Even if they can tap it a bit, Sam, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, they're just trying to hold the line, and that is a great tolerance.
It is, and if you think about it too, Beauchamp was able to move that yellow stone far enough to bring their blue stone into play.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of the sheet, so it looks like it's still a hit for 2.
Yes, it is.
And I think Haley and Amanda are just kind of determining where to put the broom. Maybe what handle to throw at this rock.
Absolutely.
But it just speaks to, there's so many different ways to call strategy, and you're getting the same result that you would have got if you would have nose hit it.
And that's probably what Acadia was thinking, is that, you know what, I know the draw path, I know if I throw back line weight, the rock is still going to react the same way as if I threw back 8. And that's exactly what happened. It was a good sweep and a good team shot, and Team Smith now has a hit to get their deuce. So you'll see Amanda, she's communicating to Haley about how she wants the shot, now communicating to the sweepers.
So what kind of weight would you like to see here, Sam? Just knowing that it's this side of the ice, knowing that the broom is in the position it is, what are you seeing?
I think I like a soft control.
Like a heavy board soft control?
Yeah, and just really bring your sweepers into play on this shot.
And I think that's a great point. These sweepers of, no matter what draw we've seen, no matter what shot being called, getting the sweepers involved has, I feel, done nothing but improve the shot. So, seeing it come down the ice here, line's close, they're on it now. It seemed to take a little bit of a late break there. Great sweep. Great sweep. It was just a great sweep by Megan. Got 2 yellow on the board here for Team Smith. It might not be everything they were hoping for, but considering how the end developed, they have to be satisfied with the multiple score there. I think understanding what the original goal was when you started this end, and keeping that in mind and getting those 2 points is really what curling's all about. Now I think Team Smith needs to really focus on a force. And as Team Beauchamp will be doing the opposite, they want that multiple score. Another 4 would be great, another 3, or even another 2. But I think if we start to get into that more traditional take 2 with, force 1 without, take 2 with, force 1 without, I think that sort of closer to the chest strategy for curling could have an impact. So a huge sweep here by Megan, and she got it over. And thank goodness she got it clearly over the hog line, because my eyes aren't sitting beside me right now. He was out for a stroll. So thank goodness it's fully over the hog line, because I don't know what I would have done if I would have had to go out there and see if it was close.
You would have found me.
Yeah, I would have found you. I would have yelled, and I would have been Sam. So, yeah, and I like that sort of play by Team Smith right now. Getting that guard up there is something that we've consistently seen. It's a strategy play that most of the teams, or at least some of the teams here, have done. And I think it's a way to kind of show your opposition that I'm here, I'm engaged, and I want to score.
And both teams are showing us that their hammer efficiency is quite good.
Yes, much better than what I had previously for my team. But
so far, a perfect end. For the lead for Team Smith, Nicole made a great center guard, and then the lead for Team Beauchamp, Paige, made a great corner. So I think we're gonna see an aggressive,
yes,
fourth end, which I like to see.
I just quickly wanted to shout out Team Zemelink. They've been telling me that they've been watching this stream, and I really hope that other women's teams who aren't here due to COVID restrictions are taking advantage of this live stream. There's so much learning going on for the teams on and off the ice, and I think no matter what level of curling you are at, it's never a bad thing to sit down, grab a pop, maybe a snack, and just watch curling and learn a bit.
Absolutely. I think it's important for all levels of curling to do that, and you see that there's a lot of the big pros are Facebook living their streams. Now it's on a phone, and they have to go end to end, and sometimes you can't see everything you want, but you still do learn from that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing to take into consideration, shout out to the streaming crew we have behind us.
Absolutely.
Ashton has done a phenomenal job throughout the first day and a half of this competition that we've been broadcasting. It's, as a viewer and as a commentator, it's nothing like anything else I've seen out there.
Absolutely. For Ashton and Matt, who've never seen curling until 2 weeks ago. It's great the adapting they've done, and I think obviously the parents at home appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this could be something that we consider in the future.
Absolutely.
Something, especially for these athletes, usually, like having the spectators come in, the support is always welcomed. But it's also nice to kind of have that weekend away to just engage with your team, engage with your coach, learn a lot, and have some fun out there executing your strategies.
And as we talked about before, we do not know what the new normal is going to look like next year.
Very true.
Whether all the parents can still come into the club or not.
Yeah.
So I do think the live streaming is going to be here to stay. And obviously that's exciting for everybody.
Yeah. You can't get rid of us curling masters.
No.
Stuck like glue.
They can.
Well, yeah, they can.
and that stone just over curls on Megan. And still, Team Smith is sitting one, and for Team Beauchamp, they got that staggered corner after that yellow kind of spun in there.
Yeah, I saw Acadia's ears peek up when I saw that kind of staggered corner. She's like, and we're going there. No hesitation.
Absolutely, and that just goes to show both of these teams' aggressiveness, and they should know this path quite well. So
yes.
I'd like to think Megan is going to make a nice shot here. So for Team Smith, they attempted the hit there and it just didn't quite make it. So for Team Beauchamp, Katie is asking Megan, or I think it's still second stones.
To be
Yep,
fair,
Megan.
Megan is the best guess because there are 2 of them out there on the ice.
I just took the percentages on that one.
Yeah, we got a 25% chance of being right.
Yeah, so it looks like she's asking Megan to go top 8 foot here, kind of guard their one in the back 8 and sit 2. And when they have hammer, there's nothing wrong with drawing around corner guards here.
I completely agree, Sam, and it just speaks to the aggressive nature that both of these teams have.
A big sweep here.
Yeah, I
couldn't tell you who that was.
I think it's Paige. I think that was Paige. I believe that was Paige.
That was head down, sweeping the whole way.
She put everything into that rock.
And though it isn't second shot, it's in a really good spot. It's in that control zone that we've talked about.
And at the end of the day, Sam, the Rocks can't score if they aren't in the rings.
Absolutely.
So it's good to have it in that position where, look, it's not first, second, or third shot, or maybe it's third shot, but it's not first or second shot, but Amanda understands that that rock is promotable. That rock is the most dangerous one that they have there because all they can do is make it better.
Yeah.
So a huge sweep here from Megan, I think. No, from Nicole.
Yeah.
As a double there.
Just good sweep, and what's important is that yellow sticks around to sit second and third.
Yeah, I think they might have been listening to the broadcast a little bit, Sam, because one thing that we noted is that those hits, even if you're attempting those doubles, it's so beneficial to keep those shooters around. You never know when they will come in handy or prevent an additional score for the opponent.
Absolutely. And so you're going to see Kylie throw this one about full 8, half buried around the corner is what she wants. And you're going to see Paige sweeping this stone, but they're calling heavy.
I love the communication there, Sam. It was right out of her hand.
Calling the audible right away.
I know. And for early season, there's not much more you can ask for.
And sweeping hard, and maybe not as heavy. It was heavy, but maybe not quite as heavy as they expected.
Yeah.
But I think that was the only audible you could have made, and that's great communication by all 4 players that they tried to do that.
No, I completely agree, Sam. I think it's just really nice to see how these women are carrying themselves and calling the audibles and communicating so much. It's just really great to see. We have Megan here on the sweep.
Big sweep.
Whoa, we called them off.
It's a big shot.
It is.
And I like the weight they decided to throw there.
Yeah, I think they are more, I feel like Team Smith is a little bit more comfortable with that, a little bit more solid of a weight, which I don't mind. It's just when you up the weight, it means you have to be more accurate. But as Haley just shown us, she has no problem with being just that bit more accurate that's needed. So good to see. We have Team Beauchamp throwing the right-handers in-turn hit. I think they're looking for a little bit of a roll, maybe in front of that other yellow stone. It's a little on the wider side right now, but the side does move. So that would have been an interesting angle to see come to life. But
and it's very hard this early in the season, but if you notice that rock is going wide, just for a learning aspect, if they decided to sweep that and hit those guards just a little thicker, the blue one that they hit would try to trickle in the rings, and their shooter would be going into that side yellow.
Very true, Sam.
And though you do have hammer and you kind of want those guards, you also do want blues in the rings. So interesting. Obviously early in the season, that's hard to see right out of the gate. So for Team Smith, it looks like they're wanting about top 8, half buried would be a really good shot. But tolerance here is light. if you put this in a 3-guard zone, pressure is back on Acadia Beauchamp to make a nice tap or a nice draw. So, Amanda is settling in the hack here, and it really, I'd love to applaud I read up on Twitter that the tape works, and both people that have glasses have put the tape on their nose when they throw, and it seemed to work quite well.
I didn't realize you were such a social media maven, Sam. Did you want to drop your social media handles for the broadcast?
No.
No. So Sam Steep, also known as the Man of Mystery.
The Man of Mystery.
We'll be back at 7 to dive deeper into the story of Sam Steep.
News.
Yeah, Ashton, you gotta throw up that news.
Back to the curling. Amanda with a great tolerance here. As I discussed before she threw, that if this isn't top 8 half buried, this is exactly where you want to leave your yellow stone.
No, exactly. And the position of that, where that stone ended up, is really not in a great spot for Team Beauchamp. I think they're lining up some sort of tap, maybe a run back, but it's the degree of difficulty on the shot is a little bit higher than just the straight draw, but at the end of the day, I don't mind this shot because even if you just peel it, you open up both draw paths
Absolutely.
to the button.
Absolutely. In my head, as a skip, I would be contemplating going through the hole.
Yes.
Just because it might be a little bit easier than the run back, but run back made is a great shot, and if you do end up just peeling, it opens up that side for your last shot because it's really important to score here in the 4th end.
No, I completely agree, Sam. And I just look at the ice they're taking. What kind of weight do you think they're throwing for this shot?
It looks like a board weight. With that ice, I would like to think about a board up.
Yeah.
It does move on the side, so I'd like to see a board up weight here, and I think that's what they're playing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that Team Beauchamp needs to take into consideration for this shot is that we're on the swing your side, which usually means it's going to slow down a little bit more than the other side of the ice. So I think they need to keep that in mind when they're calling the weight.
Yeah, and
it looks
like about a control weight, and oh, sweepers are close.
Yeah, Page is on it.
Big sweep here to try
Really?
and hold that, and what a great shot.
A shot.
A great shot by Acadia Beauchamp.
That's
great team shot. That was a great sweep as well.
A great team shot.
Great line call.
That is just, if you are Team Smith, you just kind of
tip your hat.
Yeah,
and focus on your shot.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can do. They called the shot, they threw the weight, they communicated, and they executed.
Absolutely. For Team Smith now, they're going to try and navigate this port. This port is about 2 rock widths, so it's not an easy port. Yeah. For the folks sitting at home, but with a nice control weight that they've been throwing through the hole, make the nose hit, and Acadia pressure back on Team Beauchamp.
Yeah, and I think it's considering that Team Beauchamp got the outcome that they did. It's now, I wouldn't say it's a guess for Team Smith, but it's not that same idea of you just were able to see that rock take that path, able to see it travel and see what that piece of ice does. Because as we've noted, once you get close to that center line, and then in terms of when you're on it and then when it comes off it, those can be 2 completely different lines. So I think precision is going to be needed for this one. What another, wow. So this,
2 amazing shots in a row.
Anything you can do, I can do better is what Amanda must be thinking, because a phenomenal shot was thrown by Acadia Beauchamp and team, and then Amanda Smith comes through that very tough port on the center line and just bonks it right on the nose to sit 3.
Yeah, so now pressure back on Acadia Beauchamp to make a nice shot here for 1.
Yeah, and I think if you're Team Smith, it's mission accomplished here.
Absolutely.
Pending the shot mate, being made, which I have confidence that Acadia will do that, we have our first force of the game.
Yep.
And maybe we'll see a little bit more of a tighter approach to the game. Force one, take two, force one, take two.
Yeah.
So it'll just be interesting to see how it comes here. But the pressure's on Acadia, but
We just saw a great shot, so we know she's going to be close here.
Exactly.
Looks like this is going to be a...
Oh, see, it's on that line. It's all about when it line is really close here.
Looks like it wants to curl a little bit.
Needs to curl up.
Curl.
Oh, breathe
Sit.
in, sit.
Just over rolls, and
But-
it's going to be a steal of one. But you know what? That is a hard port to get through, and the fact that both skips did it,
Yeah.
and you're only giving up a steal of one, and we know that points aren't hard to come by here.
I think that's the understatement of the tournament,
Yeah,
Sam.
absolutely.
I think if you're Team Beauchamp, you come, the skipper comes up with one of the nicest shots we've seen of the tournament, and then Amanda Smith says, no, not yet, and then she comes up with one of the other nicest shots of the tournament. And considering that the skipper's first rock, they were facing 3 Smith stones in pretty decent positions, to give up a seal of one isn't the worst outcome.
It's a game saver.
It is.
For sure. So now you'll probably see a little more aggression out of Team Beauchamp and kind of go the opposite way for Team Smith. They're going to try and probably keep it a little cleaner than the first 4 ends.
Yeah, these ladies don't lack any sort of aggression, and I think we'll be able to see that in the next 4 ends coming up. So we have Nicole throwing her first stone. Looks like it's going to be about a zone 2 guard on the center. Just while we set up this end here, give an update for the other scores across the sheets. So on sheet 1, we have a close match going on right now. We have the squad Team Madden from Ottawa. They are leading 4-2, throwing yellow rocks against Team Madaw's blue rocks, playing end number 5, Madaw has hammer. Looking at sheet 4, we have Team Acres leading Team McDonald with a score of 7-3. Team McDonald has hammer in the 5th end. And in addition, we have Team Solari. I was gonna say celery, but I said Solari. Team Solari leading 2-0, playing the 4th end. And we have Team Ramsey with hammer playing the 4th. So, looking at the setup right now, we have a centerline guard that was thrown by Team Smith by Nicole, and then Nicole's second stone slipped a little bit behind the tee line, about full back 8 foot. And then we also have the blue stone corner guard, and now we have Paige's second rock trying to come around that corner guard. I think this is one of the first times we've seen a little bit more of a traditional end setup from both of these teams, and that's always good to see that they're changing it up. And it looks like Paige's rock is just walking in there near the end, and it came in for shot stone, which is great. It's about, I'd say, half buried, maybe a third. So it'll be, I think you'll see Team Smith play the hit here or the draw. These women do not lack aggression. I know I sound like a broken record, but But if they're comfortable with putting the pressure on Team Beauchamp, there's nothing wrong with that. So we're gonna see Megan here, or pardon, yes, see, I thought it was Team Beauchamp's Megan, but it was actually Team Smith's Megan, so it worked out. So we're gonna see Megan here try to come around, bite top four, maybe even full four, buried behind that center line guard, or just off center line guard. Looks like it's hanging on them a little bit. It's really close to that blue guard. Great finishing by Paige there to really make sure that that blue rock doesn't, or pardon me, that yellow rock doesn't tick the blue corner guard. And it ends up in a pretty nice spot. Knowing that that's there, it's in the control zone. And I think that's something that Acadia, yeah, we see the gesture, that Acadia understands and she wants to deal with it. And I really like this call, especially when you have a rock full top 12, maybe a bit into the 8 foot, at the start of the end. The only thing that you can do with that rock is make it better. And I think it's good that Acadia notices that and wants to remove it. A nose hit here would be okay. Also a roll behind the corner or either guard would work well. So looks like it's a bit of up weight on this one. It's got to come off that corner. But to be honest, it didn't work out that bad for them, because that rock is fully dead buried, and on the straighter side of the ice, I don't know if you can get to it, and they're still shot. So I think that was just an assist by Megan, just wanting to make Paige's rock look a little bit better on the screen, and it does. And we're gonna see Team Smith, I believe Team Smith is going for the peel. I really like this handle that they're throwing for the peel, because if you're just ever just a smidge outside, there's potential for hitting the back one. So line's really close, but it seems to really be moving here on Megan. Oh, I think they're calling the audible, trying to go the other way on the peel. And it just curls so much there. And now all of a sudden, Megan's promoted her team's rock, and now their first shot behind the guard. So for Team Smith, they're going to want to put a nice tight guard, which they're calling, and keep the pressure on Team Beauchamp. And I've informed both teams that were on our stream sheet that we're only playing 7 ends, because we have a very tight schedule Saturday and Sunday to play this tournament, and the ladies knew that they needed to play quick, and so everyone knows that they're going to play 7 ends, so our 7th end will be our last end unless there needs to be an extra. Yeah, which that extra would just be a draw to the button, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the fact that we've confirmed now early enough that we are only going to be playing 7 ends, this 5th end becomes that much more vital. Because as the 6th end is to the 8th end, the 5th end is to the 7th, and scoring in 5 for Team Beauchamp could change the trajectory of this game. So here it's looking like we have Kylie coming out of the hack for Team Beauchamp, trying to make, I believe it's a hit and roll. And Acadia called them on. They're going, or maybe, oh, they're calling the double. It's really close. So they didn't get the perfect roll that they would like, but it's buried behind that guard. And I think in Team Smith, no lack of aggression here is going to throw up that center line guard and say, I like where my yellow rock is, and I want to try to put it on the board for our team. This one's looking a little hot for Team Smith. Maybe they can work an audible out, get a freeze of sorts. We'll have to wait and see. It's a little strong. Interesting play there. Obviously a little heavier than they would like. And I think it gives Team Beauchamp an opportunity to play what looks like a board weight kind of double, or at least a board weight hit and chop the other yellow out to try to lie 2 blue, which, considering we're only playing 7N, folks, the 5th end is really important. So we're seeing the second stone here from the vice of Team Beauchamp. Kylie really liked the release there, and it's going a bit out of her hand, so the front end's doing everything they can to hold that rock. And it looks like they got the peel, which, given the current situation, isn't the worst case thing for them, because right now that blue rock is still fully covered by that yellow guard, which gives Team Beauchamp the same opportunity, pending on the guard play by Smith. If Smith can put that guard where they keep tapping to, I don't know what Team Beauchamp will have. Maybe a peel, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It'll be absolutely a peel. If Team Smith makes this shot perfect in a nice 2 tight card, you'll see a peel. But if this card is higher, you're going to see a back, because that is the curlier side by about 1.5 feet, 2 feet.
Yep.
So you're going to see a backline tap, make sure they're sitting shot kind of shot. So we'll see what happens. I like how much ice Team Smith is taking for this guard.
I agree.
Just to update the parents that are maybe watching for sheet 5, they are only going to be playing 7Ns as well. Like we said before, the pace of play is important for the U18 levels to learn, and we also have a very tight schedule to fit 4 draws in both today and tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think kind of just to fill in the parents about what goes on, we have specific schedules for both draws to ensure that there's minimal, if no, cross-contamination between the men and the women draws. None, pardon me. Yeah. And then, in addition to that, there's extreme care at the end of every game. All scoreboard cards are sanitized, all rock handles are sanitized, and we do the best we can, or well, not the best, we do clean every high-touch surface that these players commonly come in contact with. And because it's all about safety at the end of the day, and that's something that, although the COVID-19 pandemic has shaped how we have and will continue to live our lives, the Junior Slam Series is going to adapt to that and make sure that the safety of our athletes is our #1 priority.
Yeah. And not to cut you off, but a great guard by Amanda Smith to put the pressure back on Acadia Beauchamp here.
Yeah. I think Beauchamp right now is looking for a little bit of the magic, a little bit of the skill that she put on display for us last end with 2 phenomenal shots. So a good one here could go a long way in shaping the outcome of this game.
Absolutely. I think even if you're full 4 foot half buried, even though if you're not shot, you're setting it up for your last.
Yeah, I completely agree, Sam.
So sweepers are calling heavy out of her hand, but we do know this side curls.
Yeah,
So
and it is curling.
big sweep here.
Don't, yeah. Line is
Off
really
and on
close.
is usually a good call. Hopefully they get by.
Oh,
And they just rub off, but it's great to see them not give up on that stone and really try to roll it to where they'll have it for her next shot.
yeah, and Sam, I think one interesting thing that with that overhead we can't necessarily see, but with moving that yellow guard, there could be a potential for a soft weight, kind of hackish, kind of finesse shot from Acadia to move those two yellows, because you don't have to remove them, you just have to move them out of the forefoot.
Yeah, and for Team Smith, you're going to want to put another tight guard here.
Yeah.
Try to choke off that draw so that Team Beauchamp is going to have to make an angle tap for their one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what Amanda and Haley are talking about. You know, where should we put the ice? Let's make sure we make this guard and keep putting the pressure on Team Beauchamp. So great communication by both teams. They've all talked about, we've talked about it multiple times, that these two teams, you know, third game of the season, they're talking.
Yeah.
And no one's outside of the conversation. Everyone is included, and it's really good to see, because this is a team sport. Every shot matters in every end for all 8 curlers.
Yeah.
So Amanda released the stone, and now we see Megan, one of the two Megans.
Yeah. Good call, Sam. That's a
sweeping
Megan.
to put this guard in a really good spot, and this looks like a really good spot. It really chokes off that draw.
Is the hole there though for that? No, it's not there.
No. And coach agrees. I think the only shot, and it is for one, is that angle tap.
Yeah.
You might be able to get around the high guard and just play the straight draw as well.
That's true.
So whatever you're comfortable with.
We know
as
that
a skip.
We know that side's gonna move, Sam. So
Yeah.
I think either the tap or the draw is there. I think I wouldn't mind seeing the tap call with a back forefoot weight, and then maybe if the line.
That's what they're lining up.
Yeah, and if the I think. Do you think they're lining up a tap or some sort of angle hit?
I think I guess as a skip you have to decide what you're more comfortable with. Do you want to throw the control weight angle slash, or do you rather play the backline tap to the button? It looks like Acadia wants to play that
Tap, right? I saw the gesture there.
that tap,
Yeah.
especially where the broom is. It looks like they're playing that backline-ish, because you do need to be about backline because you're only hitting about a quarter of the stone, or a thin half of the stone to tap that stone to the button.
Really mature call here, because Team Beauchamp was on the cusp of a multiple score here and there, but yet they see what shots are there for them, and they're not imagining something that's not there. They see this shot, and Team Beauchamp, especially a few of Acadia's shots, have had this sort of quality that Team Smith is asking from her again. So I have a feeling this one will be really close.
I think this is going to be a big sweep here. They very well could change to the straight draw.
Yeah. It's really curling in for them, Sam.
And just a slight overcurl. I didn't mind the weight that she did throw, because if you do hit that in the right spot, you're going to go off that yellow and you're going to stay in the button.
I agree.
So just an overcurl, and obviously they've taken 4 already this game, so the game is not over.
No, Sam, we have 2 more ends to play, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more than a couple more points to be scored.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we might see a 2, maybe a 3 from either team.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit funny, or at least in my mind it's funny, because that is kind of treated as the 6th end, because
yes,
now that's your even ends now, because we're only playing 7.
yeah,
So it's important for Team Beauchamp to really focus on scoring multiple here.
yes. I think a multiple is huge for Team Beauchamp here, and we know they can do it, and we've seen the team execute really well. It just, right now, it just seems to be a shot here, a shot there.
Absolutely.
So it'll be really interesting to see both teams kind of raise their intensity coming into the home stretch of this.
And Team Smith is kind of keeping the
gas on the pedal.
Say it, because Nicole is just going to put this nice tight guard that Amanda asked for, and it's working for them, so why stop it, right?
No, exactly. I think that's also a reoccurring thing we've seen from some of these U18 teams is they have such confidence in their finesse game and their draw ability that even if the score dictates a little bit, or to the traditional curler, the score could dictate a little bit more of a defensive style. A lot of these athletes feel so comfortable with their finesse game that they're continuing to go after it.
So I like the corner guard being called here. And you're going to see Megan sweeping this stone. Trying to make it curl over, and hopefully it sits before the rings. And we can't tell, but they raise their arms up.
Is that Ashton? Can we get you to just drop the scoreboard?
I think Matt.
Oh, it's Matt.
My apologies.
I don't know.
If they're calling the hit, then it's absolutely in.
Yeah, it would have to be, right?
Yeah.
If it was close, they would get the biter stick
so
out.
both teams probably agree with that, and I like the ice that Amanda Smith is taking here.
They know it's going to curl.
These 2 teams have probably adapted to the ice one of the fastest that we've seen so far this weekend. They might have been watching some of the live streams, or they just picked up on it quicker, because broom placements have been really well done.
Yeah, they've really understood where to put the broom, understood how much weight to throw, and what release each side dictates. And I think that's something. I think this is the first game where I can confidently say both teams have done a really good job at understanding what each side of the ice needs from them to get the result that they're looking for when the skipper puts the broom down.
Absolutely. So for Paige, her goal here is to just put this in a corner guard, about a 2-guard zone, and really start setting up the end for Team Beauchamp.
Yeah, and if anyone tells you that are they calling the audible into the house then?
It looks like it. Yep, they are. That's where Acadia is tapping her broom.
Okay.
And the end that they scored for, they got a couple misses from hits.
By putting it in the house.
Yeah, so
that's true.
That might be exactly what they're thinking. And for Team Smith and for Megan, she just needs to take her deep breath and make sure that blue rock just disappears. And then focus on making the roll.
Yeah. No, I think especially when you get to this stage of the game, it's removal first, roll second. Really big sweep here from Nicole. Really hold that line for this takeout. And it got a piece of it, but it looks like it's going to hang around in the corner. Almost just like I'll give that one to Sam. A Sam Steep prediction. He was right there. I think it's interesting though that it's almost like an inverse of what the traditional curler would say. Instead of throwing it in first and then guarding it, you would more commonly see the guard and then throwing it in. So it's just interesting to see how that strategy differs.
Yeah, absolutely. And they might, Acadia Beauchamp might know that spot is just tricky.
That's true as
And she said, you know what, I'm going to put a draw there and make Team Smith make a tricky shot. And yes, when you're watching at home, you're saying, oh, it's an open hit, but that side of the ice tends to be very release sensitive and a very tough spot. And for Megan here throwing this draw, I like the tolerance of making it a corner guard.
Yes.
Because that's, like we said, traditionally speaking, that's how you score your multiple points.
Yeah. So and it really, and interestingly enough, we see Smith signal potentially for the draw. Now we see the hit. Yeah. Now we see the hit and roll, and to be honest, and now we see the draw. Let's see. Okay. So Team Smith has tentatively decided on the draw around the corner guard. I personally would prefer that hit and roll from the blue stone, just because looking at the scoreboard, you're up 4 points. Making that hit, just removing that rock, even if you don't stick around, it takes another point, a potential point off the scoreboard for Team Beauchamp. But these ladies...
We've seen the aggressiveness work for Team Smith.
Well, I think we've seen the aggressiveness work for both teams, just looking at these big scores. So if this is what they're comfortable with, if this is what their bread and butter is, I think you got to keep that in mind when you're calling these shots.
Absolutely. And we talked about in previous broadcasts and here about playing with fire.
Yes.
And Team Smith playing with fire a little bit, calling that draw. But like we said before, it has worked for them this game.
Yeah. I think Team Smith trying to heat up the ice out there proverbially, but at the same time, it's one of those things about strategy is there's never one right answer. It really comes down to the execution of the shot. Here we see a hit. I believe it was from Megan. Maybe a double. Great shot there. And now look at the house. Blue's sitting two. They're decently spread out, and they have a corner guard. It'll be interesting to see how this end develops, especially looking. One thing that my previous coaches have always assessed is, okay, where are we after the first 8 out of 16 rocks are thrown?
Yeah.
And if you were to take a snapshot of this house, I think Team Beauchamp would be really happy with having those 2 stones and the corner available, especially considering the scoreboard.
Yeah, and a great adapting for Team Smith. They're calling the hit. They're saying, well, but we know the spot will curl.
Yeah.
And off and on's usually a good sign.
Yeah, I think they have a good piece of it here.
And then a great roll to sit shot stone, and now Team Beauchamp has to deal with it.
So Sam, if you're Team Beauchamp here, you're going to remove it because you want to sit 1 and 2. Are you thinking, do you like the nose? Do you think there's one way that's better to roll? What do you think?
I think obviously you'd rather make if a perfect shot would be a hit and roll behind your corner guard. In a perfect world.
Yes.
But if you do end up rolling behind the yellow, it works just as good. And
True.
No matter where you roll, Team Smith, in my eyes, will be hitting the open stone, whether it's the one way 12 foot or the shot that they're playing right now. A big sweep here.
Needed.
And
it seemed to just really go on them there.
Yeah, it did.
So it'll be interesting to see here if Team Smith takes more of a defensive approach, hitting that blue, or more of an aggressive approach. And I see Amanda tapping that zone 3 spot in front of that rock, and I think Amanda's looking to score this end, and that would really give them a stranglehold on the rest of this game. again, for viewers potentially just tuning in, our featured sheet is only going to play 7 ends due to time restrictions that we have set up. Keeping pace of play in curling is important both at a competitive level and a recreational level, and we're doing our best to teach these young ladies that.
With that guard, it does end up in a really good spot, even though you do see probably more than half the stone in the hack. You're leaving that center guard in a great spot.
Yeah, and I think this one too. I think this game might actually be one of the first, unless we've missed it, where there's no lefty alert. They're all a bunch of righties, which means they're coming out of the same hack. They all have the same view of the house and potentially what's in the way. And it looks like Kylie came out with a hit for this one. The weight looks a little heavy, but it is...
She's urging it to curl.
Yes. Really close.
Oh. And unlucky with that result.
Yes. A very...
Curls another centimeter and you're popping that yellow out to the other side of the open.
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing a team call. We're seeing a timeout potential call by Team Smith here. Are we going to convert it 2 for 2? Did they see? Keep trying, coach. Oh, and there we go. The front end reeling in the back end, saying, no skipper, we need to take a break here. So it's good to see that both teams are willing to engage with their coaches and really determine what's going on in this end. This end will have a huge impact on the outcome of this match, and I think it's good to see that the coach of Team Smith wants to get all the ladies on the same page.
Absolutely, I think that's a great statement. Yes, you have a 4-point lead, but this is an important shot.
Yes.
You make a nice high guard, you draw, you can play the hit.
So
whatever
many
the
options.
whatever the coach's idea is, it's an important shot because you want to keep playing. They've played with fire, but it's worked for them this end.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the theme of watching all these different strategies from all these different athletes is that there's not a right answer or a wrong answer. It's what you feel comfortable executing and what you can throw consistently.
Absolutely.
And I think that aggressive play style is something that we've seen quite often.
Yeah. So I think, and for Team Beauchamp, if you're the coach, you're saying, you know what, let's make these 2 skip stones.
Yeah. What do you
get our deuce?
No
matter how hard it would be to get your deuce, because obviously it's not set up great.
Yeah.
So I think if you're Team Beauchamp, you're either playing a very delecate kind of tick and roll.
Team
into
Smith did call this timeout.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But I'm going to the coach's aspects.
Okay.
I like the hit call.
Yes,
Team Smith.
I do too. I think this coaching intervention is the definition of a scoreboard call.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at the scoreboard. You're saying, look, we have one buried. They can't put points on the board if they don't have rocks in the house, and doing their best to eliminate one of those blue potential counterpoints is a good call. And we've seen how deadly Team Beauchamp can be with that in-turn raise. So to take all of the questions out of play here, I think removing this blue stone is a good call.
Yeah, and as I was saying, if I was the coach of the Team Beauchamp, which luckily for them, I'm not, I'd be telling them that we need to, that tight center guard, is your problem rock right now. So if you can make that delicate backline tap,
yeah,
and separate either the one that's in the top 4 foot or the guard, and roll your blue into the rings and try to get that multiple points, that's what you're going for.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing you're not their coach either, Sam. They might be a little too skilled for you.
See, it's okay if I say it, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not okay if you say it.
So, unfortunately, we didn't get the outcome we were looking for in that coaching intervention, but at the same time, Team Smith is still sitting in a decent position. They still have that rock just nibbling, just inching its way to the top of the forefoot with a nice tight zone 3 guard. So I think it'll be interesting to see here what Acadia tries to do to access it and potentially remove it. I think they're lining up some sort of a lightweight freeze or maybe a tap. I'm assuming that the coach of Team Beauchamp would have indicated to his squad what.
And I think they were just trying to pick which turn they wanted to throw.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's 2 shots here. You can play the corner freeze and hope you get a miss and have a shot for 3, or you can draw up the back forefoot here.
Yeah, and I don't hate either of them, Sam.
I like both too.
And these women have done nothing but show us how accurate they can be with their draw weight.
Yeah.
And I think we'll have a close one here.
So Acadia settling into the hack. Big shot here.
Yeah. Line looks close. I think they need to make sure that they don't jump it to take the curl out of it. Never mind, it's curling a ton. Line is really close. They're putting everything they have to get by that guard, and it just rubbed. But it's not in a terrible spot because it's shot stone, and Team Smith is gonna have to deal with it. And if Team Smith nose hits that rock, there's a potential for a double there, Sam.
Absolutely. I think that's a great team shot because the sweeper never gave up on it after it rubbed off the guard.
Yeah, and we've seen that through a couple of draws so far.
Absolutely.
Is that maybe you're not getting the perfect planned called shot, but you're not giving up on the rock and you're following through to get the most out of it.
It's interesting that Team Smith has been tapping the hit, but they've also tapped the freeze, and they're really talking about every. Amanda and Haley are really talking about every scenario, and I like that they're settling with the hit.
Yeah, I think they're keeping in mind what the team and what the Team Smith timeout call was all about.
Yeah.
Was to look at the scoreboard, assess whatever options you have, and understanding that eliminating any Beauchamp rock out of scoring potential is nothing but beneficial for them. And it's good to see that they settled on this hit. This ice they're giving is on what we call the straighter side, but for the most part, it's still curling quite consistently. So it'll be nice to see if they throw that kind of controllable, boardish, 10 seconds hog-to-hog hit weight to make sure that they remove that stone and roll either left or right.
As Amanda's settling in the hack here, I like the broom placement she decides. And a nose isn't the end of the world because Acadia still has to make that tough double for 2.
Yeah.
So your main goal here is to eliminate the blue stone. And you might even be in a better position if you just peel the blue stone. You don't even keep your shooter anywhere.
Very true. I think it's one of those instances where I think I would like to see a hit stick somewhere, Sam, just because of that blue counter on the side of the 12-foot, potentially opening up a run, but I think nose isn't the call.
And this is exactly 10 seconds.
And yeah, and
it's
I
a great shot.
Nice.
Where they rolled, there's no double, or it's a very thin double if there is one.
I think you might see Team Beauchamp. I think you might see them play an angle run here for 2 points. So I think it'll be. I don't know, Sam. If I'm really trying to understand what the best call for Team Beauchamp would be. Like, if I'm them, I don't really want to be going into the last end down 3 without. But I think the run back is the shot here. And she's made the run back before. She's made the run back, and I like this timeout call by Team Beauchamp
because it's this shot is kind of for the game, right?
No, 100%. This shot is do or die. But at the same time, interestingly enough, we've seen this in-turn run back for Team Beauchamp before, and it was executed phenomenally.
Yep.
So
now this one's a little more of an angle run
yes,
back, and it is a lot more difficult.
Yes, the angle is definitely more extreme than before.
Yeah.
But if I'm Acadia and I'm flashing back to that shot I threw in the fourth end, you can do it,
Yep.
and you can do it again.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see if they want to throw the draw. Being down 3 is still possible
Yep.
to get back at, but I think right now there's no one else on the ice right now that I wouldn't want to throw the shot except for Acadia and Beauchamp.
Yeah.
So
she knows the spot. She knows what to do.
And she's made it before.
And I think that's what her coach is saying to her.
Yeah.
And we could absolutely be totally wrong, and he's saying, let's get one.
Yeah, let's draw.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and there isn't. And I think the other part of this is kind of to just, look, ladies, this is a critical part in the game. Let's at least discuss as a team what's going on so that regardless of the result we take, we're learning stuff coming out of this game.
Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up calling.
Yeah.
Either way, tough shot, because even the draw is a tough shot, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they decide. And I like that Acadia is going down to the other end. She's going to put the broom down, like we talked about earlier.
And I love this
they're
call.
They're lining up the angle run, almost like they heard us talking.
Yeah, I love this call, and I also just have to notice that we've been playing a little bit of musical chairs behind sheets 1 and 2. Sheets 2 going out for a timeout, then sheet 1, and it's good to see all of this coaching interaction, especially early on in the season, really getting all members of the team engaged, not just the athletes on the ice, but the coach and potentially alternate player that's sitting off the ice. And I think I'm excited to see what Acadia gives us for this shot.
This is similar ice as she took for the run back earlier this game.
Yes.
So I think this is definitely the call, and obviously a very hard shot, but it'll be lovely to see this made.
Line seems oh, the sweepers are off.
And it looks like this is just drifting.
Yeah, they might have found that one spot in the ice that just hung a little.
Yeah, it just hung on them a little bit there.
So, a steal of 2 for Team Smith here.
And we got broom taps.
Tap.
Yeah. So, great game by both teams, and the scoreboard might show 10-4. But there was shots for both teams in this game that were really important, and a lot of learning moments here that if they do come back and look back at this game, they're going to learn a lot from it. And great, obviously important game for Team Smith to win there, going to 2-1 in the standings now.
Yeah, exactly, Sam. And by them winning, they're also bringing back Team Beauchamp.
Yeah.
So I think what we're going to see, and we'll leave the broadcast on with maybe a little bit of commentary, we're going to see the last shot draws for these women. And these last shot draws are so underrated because it's almost like if you can get a really good draw, it's almost like another win in the score column. And I think it's really vital, especially for those teams that are maybe at 1-2 or 2-1, that it can really impact the seeding of these teams, with the top 4 going to the championship and the championship section of the draw, and the bottom 4 going to the consolation. Just a quick look over all sheets of play while we have a minute. It looks like we have Team Solari leading Team Ramsey with a score of 5-3. Team Solari is only sheet 5. Ramsey and Team Solari are only playing 7 ends total. So for them, this is their last end of play as well. So there's a 2-point lead that Solari is taking into the final end. and it's a really, really tight game over there. And also on sheet 4, we have a little bit more of an opening. Team Acres is leading Team McDonald 10-5. They're in the 8th end. We love to see that these ladies get all 8 ends of play in. They have been very efficient and effective with their strategy calling, preparation in the hack. We love to see that. And then in addition, on sheet 1, we see a very, very tight match between Team Madden and Team Madaw. And I believe, I'll just check the scoreboard for one moment, everyone. Yeah, so that game happening on sheet 1 is a battle of the undefeated. So the winner of that game is at a pretty big advantage on the leaderboard, considering everybody else has one, if not multiple losses. So I think there's a lot going on right now. And also sheet 1 have been playing timely and efficiently. They'll be able to get all 8 ends of play in there. And it's the quality, the pure skill that all of these athletes are able to display across all 4 sheets of play it's just so present. And it'll be interesting to see how this side of the draw, the women's draw, shapes up, because it seems like there's a lot of parity, a lot of similarity in skill levels and strategy, and we'll just have to really wait and see for the result. So I think we're gonna head back onto the ice, and we're gonna look at the shootout. I believe we'll see Team Smith throwing first. We'll just wait for the camera change. And there we are. And I believe we're gonna see Team Smith throwing first. It looks like Kylie and Acadia are just discussing potentially draw paths, the handle they want to throw, where they want to put the ice, etc. So we'll be able to see what's going on there. So it looks like Team Beauchamp is set up to throw first. The skipper, Acadia, is looking to put this one on the pin. And we'll just get it. And she's up and she's off. Line looks good for Acadia, and one thing we noticed on this draw in particular is that we're getting a little bit more curl on this side of the sheet, so it'll be interesting to see how that impacts where this rock ends up. Sweepers we're on it at the start, are off it now. It looks really close. Yep, Megan's really going, and that's an excellent shot. That's a really well discussed shot by the team. Great team communication, great throw by Acadia, and great management of the stone by all players. They will be very satisfied with where that rock ended up, especially considering the outcome of this game. If they can get a really good shootout score, you never know what could happen. They could. So it's great to see that intensity is still there and that the athletes are still performing. So first up, it looks like we have Nicole throwing. The sweepers, they think it's a little heavy, I believe. Just see where it ends up. It's a little wider, so it could slow down a touch. Yeah, I believe Team Smith just got out into a path that maybe wasn't as used throughout the whole game, and and it just carried on them. Just a little bit fresh pebble, a little bit more of a glide. So it looks like we have, I believe that's Paige. Yes, we have the lead of Team Beauchamp. Paige is throwing this draw to the button. Both sweepers got a time on it. Sweeping hard for it. Kylie's putting everything she has into it. It's really important for these draw to the buttons that they get as close as they can to the tee line. The tee line is that center, and you see Kylie putting everything she has into it. And another great draw by Team Beauchamp. That they've got to be satisfied that 2 out of their 4 draws right now have hit the 4-foot. I think a mark of any good team is understanding that the result of the game might have not ended where they would like it to be, but they're still out there and they're still competing and they're doing the best they can. Because like we've said, this shootout is almost as good as a win if you really hunker down and perform out here. So it looks like we're going to have Megan. Can see that smile inflate and deflate with those very deep breaths. I'm sure these ladies have left everything out on the ice. So, and I believe Megan is taking the similar line to try to get to that 4-foot into that button area. And it looks like, I believe it's Nicole is carrying this one, trying to get it as close as she can to the button. A great team adjustment from the first one. Full 8-foot, a really solid draw there. Just a quick score update on that really close game between Team Madon and Team Madden. Both coaches called the timeout in the 6th end. They really were looking to get engaged with their athletes. And it looked like Team Madden was able to convert a 2-point score in the 6th end, leading 6-3, playing the 7th end. Emily Madaw and her team has hammer. Pardon me, they just finished the 7th end, and Team Dundas scored 1 point. So, now we have Team Madden leading 6 points to 4 against Team Madon playing the last end. Team Madden has the last stone advantage. And again, this Beauchamp team with another excellent draw, getting a piece of that 4-foot. One thing that my previous coaches have always told me is that if you can get all 4 of those stones into that 4-foot, you've got a pretty dang good shootout score. And I think that's what Beauchamp's going for here. They understand the outcome isn't what they want, but they're going to do everything in their power to give themselves the best opportunity in this tournament. And it's really great to see. Now we have Haley with that nice smile that you can see on the outside of her mask, throwing that same out-turn draw to the button here. And it looks like Megan picked her up right away. There's these ladies are putting everything they have in that sweep to carry that stone as far as possible, and it really shows. And it's unfortunate it didn't get to the house, but don't forget, Team Smith did win this game. So if they can convert the win in their final game, 3-1 should be good enough to get them into the championship round. Right now, Kylie's looking to put this in the 4-foot. If anything, she's looking to do better than her teammates. Her teammates have been nothing but dialed in for this draw to the button, and it looks like they think it's a little hot right now, so they're hoping it's gonna slow down for them. We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, it looks a little strong, but at the end of the day, Team Beauchamp have 3 really strong draw to the buttons, and it'll be interesting to see what impact that has in the standings in terms of seeding. And it looks like we get the privilege of having the final draw of this draw to the button thrown by Amanda Smith. These women have all thrown the same right-handers out-turn draw to the button, and we've had a variety of results. So it'll be interesting to see where this one ends up. I think it would be really nice for everyone watching at home to have this one end up on the pin. I think it would be a great way to show what a competitive and engaged match both teams have had. Like, the score does not encompass how close this actually was. And there were just a couple key shots here or there that determined the result of this. So Amanda has thrown it, and it looks like the Supers think it's a little heavy, but Nicole isn't backing off. She thinks it's close, and the line is good. She's getting into that slide path, and Nicole's giving all she has, and what a great way to end off this very competitive match. A top 4-foot draw, that'll definitely help out their shootout score. And it's good to see just the pure talent all of these ladies have that are on the ice. It's really refreshing. And again, the scoreboard did not dictate how close of a match this was. So that concludes our featured sheet. Sheet 2 from Dundas Valley Golf and Country Club. Both the teams have their recorded shootout score, and now it's going to be inputted to our system shortly. On behalf of both Sam and I, and the whole Junior Slam Series team, we really appreciate the support and the feedback that we get for the broadcasting, and we really appreciate all the viewers that we have. It really is something that we feel privileged in doing, and we love to support junior curling. So from everybody here at Dundas Valley Golf and Country Club, we appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you when our next draw occurs, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.